A lot of people are pegging this defensive interior class of not being at least top heavy, that there's maybe one or two prospects that are worthy of a first rounder, but then after that it kind of gets like there's really no one I want to pick probably until the third round. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. There's a few guys I really do like in this class, so I'm going to give you my top 10. If you want to go see my expanded rankings, I got 10 more guys on this list. Go to Fan to Fan Network. I'll leave the link in the description below or in the pinned comment, so go check that out. And I'm Steven Lagardelle, better known as What's Crackalackin'. It's your boy Baroshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. We are streaming tonight on Twitch some NCAA 14. We're going to be playing the Georgia State Panthers. Pounce, Panthers, pounce. Can Albert Wilson finally lead this team to a winning season? We got their off season, and then we're going to do the season opener. So go check that out if you want to come just kind of talk with me. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the list. At 1, I got Christian Barmore out of Alabama. Ultimately, I ended up putting him over Marvin Wilson because he's just more athletically gifted. I mean, yes, we haven't seen it in terms of production, or at least we've only seen it in a small sample size, but he's been utterly dominant in that small sample size. He didn't really become a starter till the last 4 games of the season. But this guy, he plays with great leverage. He could have a breakout campaign next year. He had a pressure rate of 20%, a win rate of 24%. That's very good for an interior player. And he actually ended up having the same amount of pressures, 26, as did Marvin Wilson, but he did it on 123 less snaps, or fewer snaps. But speaking of my number 2, it's Marvin Wilson. I still think he's a first rounder. I think he could be a top 10 pick. He was kind of in the mix of my top defensive interior prospect with last season with Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw before he decided to return. Got long arms, quick hands, and he's just ridiculously strong. Unfortunately, he's not nearly as athletic as guys like Brown and Kinlaw, but I think he was a much more impressive pass rusher, especially compared to Brown. And I mean, Brown, let's be honest, that dude got picked up based on, I guess, I can't even say tools, but based on, like, he's stupid strong and he's a solid run defender. Apparently that makes you a top 10 pick. If that's the case, then Marvin Wilson should be included with that as well. But he was putting on a banger of a year. He was Wilson was slowing down at the end of the season before having that hand injury that ended up ending his season. My concern is because the way he was slowing down as a pass rusher is he might not be a 3-down player, but he will definitely win early, or he'll definitely win on early snaps. I'm just saying, if Brown's a top 10 player, so is Marvin Wilson. And then at 3, I got Tyler Shelvin out of LSU. The guy is a freak of nature. He's got great athleticism for being almost 350 pounds. He is your kind of prototypical run, stop, and nose tackle. He just eats space, destroys blocks, gets great leverage. And the thing about him is he didn't generate pass rush last year. He only had 6 pressures. But the thing was, going back watching it, LSU kind of asked him to do a specific thing, like where even on passing downs, he kind of played run contain first. So he would engage on whatever block, double team he had. He would engage, wait, okay, it's pass down, and then he would shed block and pressure. So it's not that he can't rush the passer. He just really hasn't been taught. So I think if you could coach that up, you could get a really good special player here. And honestly, worst case scenario, you get a solid pass rusher at the 0 tech. I said solid pass rusher, run stopper. There we go. F4, I got Levi ONWUZURIKE out of Washington. Great athleticism. He plays with good agility. He's got a good release. Played most of his snaps at nose tackle, which he won't be doing that in the NFL, not at 290. So he still kind of needs to learn how to play it like around the 3 tech. I would actually probably put him more as a B gap type of guy, but Yeah, yeah. I mean, he still needs to learn how to play along the defensive line. He's still a bit raw in that aspect. You kind of saw that last year because I kind of expected him to break out last year. That wasn't really the case, but he's got crazy physical tools. I don't expect him to play nose tackle at the NFL level, as he shouldn't. But with his current tape, with the Pac-12 not playing this year, he leaves a bit to be desired. I think second round is probably about the right spot for him. And then at 5, JAYLEN TWYMAN out of Pittsburgh. Guy plays with just a very high motor. He's very twitchy, but he is a bit undersized, and he's not explosive. He did post 10.5 sacks last year. Large in part was because he finished plays. He didn't have a lot of pressures last year. He didn't. So majority of those sacks was just because he plays to the whistle. Got a great motor. I love his technique. Does lack a bit in the athleticism department, but I think if you get out a little bit more explosion to his game, then it's kind of easier to overlook his height. But this guy could be solid. He could be very good. A lot of people want to put him in the first round. No, don't do that. As far in terms of an athlete, I don't think he's a first rounder, but I definitely could see him moving up day 2. Then 6, CORY DURDEN out of Florida State. This guy, he's often, when I've looked at scouts talk about him, they and it's perfect. They call him a bull in a china shop, and it's totally true. The guy has incredibly sloppy technique, or even no technique, but his physical tools are just so impressive. But he again, ridiculously raw. He lacks an actual feel for the position, but despite that, he had 45 pressures, and this is where I kind of link where I could see this guy maybe being more a second rounder, because Ross Blacklock kind of was the same way. TCU, they don't really teach their defensive line necessarily. They just teach them how to run contain. They're not really taught much technique. They're not taught how to put pressure on the passer. But Blacklock, despite that, succeeded. He got a ton of pressure, and I kind of see the same from CORY DURDEN here. So honestly, the guy, if you're just winning with pure upside, then I'd be willing to take you and hopefully coach you up. That's where I kind of see DURDEN at right now. And then at 7, I got ALIM McNeill out of NC State. Was a guy I just recently looked at. He was a part of a very talented NC State defensive line last year, and he has very good athleticism for his size, very good explosiveness, and he was actually the most efficient pass rusher on that defensive line last year on only 552 pass rushing snaps. He had 18 pressures and 7 sacks. The guy just gets to the quarterback. He had 19 defensive stops in the run game. Very good against the run. He's a guy that I'm slowly moving up my board, and honestly, I could probably I wouldn't mind moving him up a couple of spots, but I want to see him. We talked about DURDEN being kind of a bull in a china shop. I don't want McNeill. He's not like that. He could use more body control, but he is pretty technically very sound. It's just I want to see him get better leverage. I want to see better balance. That's probably the best way to put it. And then at 8, TUFELE out of USC. Another guy a lot of people are very high on, and I get it. He's tremendously athletic for his size, very quick and explosive, but he has maybe 1 or 2 pass rush moves that he actually deploys, despite there being very good moves. They're very good moves, but he plays very weak. I'm not saying he's weak, but he plays very weak, and it's probably in part he plays very high. He doesn't get great leverage. I was surprised to see him opt out and declare for the draft, because based on his tape, I don't think he's there right now. I think right now, at best, he's in early day 3, just based on the lack of any pass rush moves, and just he doesn't play strong, and he plays with no leverage. He's gonna get eaten up in the NFL. I really think a season or 2 could have really helped this guy stock out. I think he does have potential to be a first rounder. but I don't think that'll be the case this year for him. Then Darius Stills at West Virginia, coming here at 9. Still, this dude's very undersized. He's only 6'1", 282, but because of that small stature, he plays with great leverage. He's got great quickness. He actually, being in the Big 12, they force him to play nose tackle, which is kind of wild. He took most of the snaps there, but he virtually has no pass rushing moves. He really just relies on that low leverage, a small strike zone on him to really win, but he's shown to really improve. He's got a great learning curve. This guy, the jump from his sophomore to junior year was huge, and if he can develop some pass rush moves, this guy's going to be a solid starter in the NFL for years. And then at 10, I got Malik Herron out of Georgia. This guy, I think, is going to end up being a 3-4 end when it's all said and done. He kind of played in and out of position at Georgia in 2019, but the dude's just an edge setter. He is what it is. He does lack a bit of athleticism, but that's because they're playing him on the outside, and I think he's better a little bit further on the interior. Like I said, I think he's better suited as an end in a 3-4 scheme. I kind of get these Solomon Thomas vibes. If you remember the 49er, Solomon Thomas himself, he's a great run defender on the outside, but he's a very good pass rusher on the inside. I just get those vibes from him, and I think as long as you know what Herron is good at, or at least what he's going to be good at the NFL, and you understand the type of prospect you're getting, then he can be a very efficient starter almost right off the bat. But if you want to see the rest of my list, go ahead on to Fan to Fan Network. Link is in the description below. It's also in the pinned comment. Like I said, there's 10 more prospects on that list. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.